Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I have quite a few new subscribers based off of my last episode that I had Michelle from the Naughty Knitwits as my special guest. So you all seem to enjoy that. I had a lot of fun. We both had a great time doing it, and I had a great response. It was the most viewed video I've ever done. So thank you, Michelle, for doing that. But yeah, so I have some new people here, so I'm going to do a little introduction kind of a thing. My name's Carrie. I live in Oregon, just outside of Portland. I live with my husband. My son lives nearby. We have a little dog. We love to camp and be outside and hike, and I like to do all the crafty things. I quilt, I knit, I little bit crochet, cross stitch. I've tried many crafts. Some I'm good at, some I suck at, but I try them. I enjoy trying new things. And yeah, so hopefully you find something here that is interesting to you. And I appreciate you joining me and watching. So it's been about a month. I really had anticipated on recording sooner, but it's just been a really busy summer, which is fine. But I haven't had the time to sit down and do this and give myself time to edit and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a little bit, but there's been a lot going on. I will talk about the quilt that's on the wall in a minute because it's going to lead to another quilt that I'm going to do, or maybe a few more quilts that I'm going to do. I have a little bit of knitting. I have not knit as much as I would have hoped. And the one project that I put a lot of energy into, I have to rip out and start over. So, super fun. But, you know, that's the beauty of knitting, is that you can take it out and start over. When you screw up on something in a quilt, it's pretty much toast because you've cut the fabric and you can't put it back together. So, I enjoy all the crafts. And, yeah. So, today is August 2nd, 2023. And let's just get going. The last time I was with you with Michelle, she is half of the Naughty Knitwits, which has a YouTube channel. They have a YouTube channel, and I will link that and anything else that I have links to down below in the description box below this video. And yeah, so we went to, not Michelle, myself and several friends went to the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show in Sisters, Oregon, the first part of July, and we had a blast. I have been part of this quilting sewing group since, gosh, it's been a few years. Chip, who is part of the Fiber Hustle, my favorite guys, he put together this group to do like a quilt along, and we made the Alaska rainbow, and I'll put a picture here. If you remember, that was a few years ago, and the group has stayed together, most of us. Not everybody still participates, but there's a core group that we still meet every week on the computer, and we'll sit and chat while we're sewing or whatever, and it's become a really nice circle of friends. And several of us from that group met and went to the Sisters Quilt Show. So we shared a house, and which was fabulous. It was such an awesome house. And we just had shenanigans all weekend, and we just had a blast. It was full of inspiration, which inspired a lot of talk of the next quilt along we want to do, and we should do this together. And so I'm going to talk about some of that as well. So back to the quilt on the wall. When we went to the house, I wasn't sure where I was going to be sleeping, because when we made the reservation, I felt like, I remember it very distinctly, there was one less bed than we had of people. So I brought my cot, which is a nice big cot, and I thought I'm going to grab a quilt just in case there's not like extra blankets or something. So I brought this quilt. So this quilt is a quilt I made several years ago, and it is a pattern by Allison Glass. So this was the quilt pattern. Whoop! It's a paper pieced pattern, and I really loved making it, and it's my favorite quilt. For one, it has all the colors, and those of you who have been around a while know I love color, and this is my favorite quilt. So we were sleeping, several of us were sleeping downstairs, which was pretty chilly because of the air conditioning. And so I said, well, here, use my quilt. I ended up having a bed because they added another bed to the house. I didn't need it. And so then everybody was like, wait a second, what's this quilt? And so I told about it, and they saw it and they thought, well, wouldn't that be fun to make as a quilt along? So I thought, well, I've already made it, but I don't mind making it again. So when we went into Sisters, and the day before the show, so the Sisters Outdoor Quilt Show is a show that happens in this little town of Sisters in the center of Oregon, and all the quilts are hung all over town outside. So the town pretty much rallies around and hangs quilts. The firemen hang them with their hook and ladder type of thing up on the building, and they're on all the buildings throughout the town, and you just walk around this town and view the quilts. It's not judged. It's just a way to show quilts, and there's some really beautiful quilts. We didn't actually even get to see them all because it gets pretty warm over there, and you are in a little bit of altitude, which the sun is more intense the higher up and the thinner the air gets. So it was getting pretty warm. I think everybody saw what they wanted to see, but we had such a fabulous time. So while we were at the weekend, I said we should go shopping at the Stitching Post, which is this fabulous quilt shop in the town of Sisters, which is the shop that coordinates and hosts this big quilt show. Said if we're going to shop, we need to go the day before because it gets really busy in the shop the day of the show. So we went in, and everybody was like, okay, let's get this pattern. They had the newer version of the pattern, which is this, which I did end up buying. I wasn't going to buy it, and I thought, I have the pattern. This was the original pattern. I don't know if I have the paper piecing papers. And it's like, I'm sure I got it off of a computer. Like, which computer was it? It was so long ago. So I went ahead and bought the pattern. And it's lovely. It's got lots of inspiration inside with pictures of different versions of the quilt. And I'm going to do this one. I decided I was going to go ahead and participate with the group and make this one because a little while ago, let me see if I can do this. I won on an Instagram giveaway from Erica Arndt a jelly roll and some fat quarters in this line by Needles Quilt is what it says on it. So it's different shades and prints of blue, and I thought, wouldn't that be nice? Here, actually, it's on the back side. Wouldn't that be nice to make it like that? So while we were there, I picked up this fabric at That's the problem with the jelly rolls, as they've been cut by machine, so you get the little fluffies on your fabric. But I bought this fabric for the background, and then these will be the prints. These fat quarters are the same prints that are in the jelly roll. And I thought, okay, that will make a really beautiful quilt. It gives me a great way to use that fabric. So these little like feather parts, I can use the jelly rolls, and then the parts that are bigger sections, I can dig into the fat quarters. So between the two, I should be able to make this quilt pretty easily. We haven't set a start date or anything because we just got done doing our surprise quilt along block exchange, and I talked about it last month. We were supposed to exchange the blocks or open our blocks up last week, but some of the mail has been delayed because some of the blocks are coming from the UK, and so we decided to do it on Saturday. So I can't share it with you quite yet, but we all made a lava lamp block. We made several of them and then mailed them out to the group that wanted to do it as an exchange, and then in exchange I've gotten blocks from all of them, which I have not opened yet. No peeking until we do our exchange. We'll get online and I'll open them together so we can just enjoy that as a group. So that'll happen this Saturday. So next time I talk to you, I'll be able to show you all the blocks that I got, and I'm really, really excited and curious to see everybody's version of it. I mean, it's like you could do whatever. So that'll happen next time. Another thing that we got inspired to do as we're walking around the quilt show, And the show, the quilts are all over town, but they do try to group them either by similar patterns or maybe there's a color scheme, and they try and group them together. And if there is a group, like a guild or something that has done a collection of quilts based on a challenge or something, they'll put those all together. So we were looking at this group of quilts, and I was explaining to them this was done by like a book club. And I've done that in the past through my local guild when I was part of that. And you read a book, you decide whatever book you're going to read. Hopefully it's something that gives you lots of visuals. And then at the end, whatever the deadline date, you make a quilt depicting something from the book or something that inspired you or something. You can do whatever you want. Now I've made them sometimes. I've got one that's like the size of a piece of paper. I've got ones that were a little bit bigger. And it's really fun to take that challenge. And I do really enjoy that when there's some sort of a challenge. It really gets my brain thinking. Sometimes it's a real struggle and you think, why did I agree to do this? Because I'm not coming up with anything. And then sometimes it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So we saw that and we're like, oh, that would be really fun. And I made this joke because one of my friends keeps trying to get several of us to read this book called S. And I'm like, oh, that just sounds like a lot of work. And I said, oh, as long as it's not that book S. And they're like, oh yeah, we totally have to do that book. So my friend sent me the book. So this is the book S. And it's an adventure, really. So really it's called The Ship of Theseus. This is what's in the cover. I haven't started it yet because I haven't sat down to read. That's going to be my challenge, is to sit down like during the day to read this, because I generally read on my Kindle at night before I go to bed, and this is just too big to read. So you basically, it's a story within a story. So there's postcards in here randomly. You've got this is some kind of decoder thing. It's like this adventure. So there's text, and then there's notes in the column. That's printed in the book, that to make it look like somebody's left notes in the column. And she says you read the book, just the text part, then reread it, reading into the margins and the notes that are corresponding. So it's like two different stories. It sounds very interesting, but it's a thick book and I have to sit down during the day to read it, which really never will happen. I'm going to try, though. I am going on vacation again in September, so maybe I'll bring it and I'll read. It's like if I'm sitting, I'm knitting or something like that, So it's hard, but we all decided we're going to do this, and, thank you to my friend who sent this. I promise I will try and get to it. So another thing that we were inspired to do, this was something we talked about on our little like Zoom meeting, is to make something based off of the artwork of Rex Ray. So this is the book I got, and I haven't really read it because it all kind of came, and it's just been a whirlwind this summer. He has passed, but he used to make these art pieces out of paper, and we thought, wouldn't that be cool to do something like that in fabric? It would just be so cool. So I got the book, which is filled with pictures. Filled with pictures of some of his works, and the ones that inspired me are the ones that look like kind of like that. I mean, wouldn't that be cool to do that in fabric? So I haven't decided exactly what mine will look like. I'm really inspired by this picture that I saw. But I want to maybe take elements from different pieces that he's done, so I'm not just copying that. I haven't decided exactly what my approach is going to be. I feel like I need to find a way to design on an app, computer or something, where you like draw one side and it's drawing the other side, so you end up with a perfectly symmetrical design. I haven't looked too much into it, but that's what I want to do. And that way I can make some of those shapes, but they'll be even on, you know, they'll be symmetrical because I can't draw it like that. So once I get that kind of sketched out, then I'll have to figure out how I'm going to approach making it. It's obviously going to be applique, probably turned edge applique, because I'm not a huge fan of raw edge. But while I was in Sisters with that Rex Ray, something in my mind, I bought some fat quarters. And I was mostly just looking for textures and colors and something I could fussy cut to add to this piece. Look at that piece. Oh, that one was really pretty. So that was kind of fun because I don't normally buy fabric. I haven't bought fabric for something like that for many, many years. So I just was trying, like I said, trying to get different colors and different things that gave different textures. And I may dye some fabric to go with it. I'm not really sure how I'm going to approach it. So I first have to kind of figure out what my design's going to be and then go from there. So this is something we are going to do as a group, whoever wants to participate from our group, but without a time frame. Like, this is going to take a while. It's going to take a long time to design it and then work on it. Hopefully, what happens and what can happen a lot of times, if I get really into it, I will just dive into it and just work on nothing else but that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a lot of other stuff that's coming up that may derail me a little bit, but I'm going to try. I'm really going to try. Another quote we saw, it was just like improvisationally pieced, and I was saying that, like, I suck at improv piecing, and I'd like to be a little better at it, just because I think that it could be fun to use to a degree. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of it, but I got this book, Improv Quilting, that just sort of, I don't know, kind of walks you through it. I think, let's see if there's any pictures in here. So, like, these are interesting. I won't ever make anything like that, but I think I could maybe learn something from that could help me with this one, you know? So that was a new book I got as well. Like I said, I haven't been able to really dive into it. I started working a few hours a week for my friend who has Lamb Farm Designs quilting design business, and she's gotten really busy with that she's asked me to work for her, and I work, you know, a few hours a week, either printing out patterns or cutting fabric or something like that. So I have to fit that in. And you know, I've been on vacations, and I go camping again in a couple of weeks. And so camping is usually knitting. I'll usually sit and knit. But I'm going camping with my friend that I'm doing the cross stitch for that I showed last time, and I honestly have barely worked on it because of all this other stuff that's been going on. And I was really hoping to finish it so I could bring it when we go camping to give to her. I don't know if I'm going to get it done because I've got all these other deadlines with a knit along that I started that I have totally tanked on. But we'll talk about that. A couple of things that we did. So our little gang is it's the So Social. We're So Social. So I made everybody a little pouch and I made a logo of our little gang, and I had these pouches and I dyed them. Tried to do like a shibori style dyeing, which is when you clamp and rubber band and make like relief areas. And it you know, it turned out okay. It's just a little notions pouch. And then I made that. Can you see that? Let me do that. So it just says Sisters Quilt Show 2023, and I just did it with what do you call that? Shrinky dink stuff. And so that was fun. And then there's this joke, ha ha, funny, from several of my friends that I'm a micromanager. And it's just that I want to make sure everybody's taken care of. So I made myself micromanager on the back side of my thing. It's out of love. So anyway, that was fun. I got some some fiber from a friend. So that'll be really fun to spin up. And, oh, then my friend Susan made us these little, I got threads on them, these little embroidered notions pouches. Isn't that adorable? So she put in here, so the name of the pattern, it's a wool felted pouch by Corinne Lapierre. I'm assuming that's how you say it. So, very cute. Very, very sweet. Got a pouch from my friend Fizz. Oh, so this is holding my knit along. I could go into knitting now because I think I've talked about all the quilting stuff. I had talked the last time when Michelle was on with me. She had made and gave me a cowl. It's the Knit Chat cowl, and I love it. It's a bandana style cowl. It was designed to use self-striping yarn in a way that was different than socks. And it's adorable. I love it. It laid really nice, and I'm like, we should do a knit along. I had a lot of people say, yes, I'd be in for that. So I started a knit along. And so I picked up this yarn. Oh, geez, it's a mess. What happened? Oy, story of my life these days. Okay, so it's this self-striping, very subtle striping. And I picked that up while we were in Sisters. Actually went to Bend and went to a quilt or fiber shop called Fancy something. And this is the yarn, and you can kind of see it's a little stripy. So I thought, okay, that's perfect. It'll be gentle. I have the rainbow one that Michelle made me, and it'll be gentle, and it's knitting up really great, except my center line is way over here, and it should be like here. And I don't know what I did wrong. And I was at the point supposedly that I'm supposed to like do the finishing ribbing, and I'm like, okay, let me make sure I have the right amount of stitches in case, you know, I missed one. I'm off by like over 30 stitches, so somewhere I missed something really major, and it's not the pattern. I am not dissing the pattern at all. The pattern is very well written. It is a very easy pattern. Definitely go get it. It's a great way to use some self-striping yarn. I just think because I was trying to do it in the car, trying to do it when I'm visiting, I missed something. So I'm going to rip this out and start it over. Luckily, it is a nice knit, and I don't mind doing it over, but I'm probably not going to make it to the deadline because here's the middle, and the middle should, like, it's not the middle. You know what I mean? I don't know what I did. And I did a cable cast on, and I think I should have done my Norwegian, is it Norwegian cast on? Where you do like kind of an extra little whoop-a-doop, kind of like a long tail, because it's stretchy and I can get it over my head, but then it's tight when I do that, which is probably fine. I just don't know that I like that. So anyway, it's gonna be really pretty when it's done, and I've seen pictures of others of you who are doing it, and I really, really like how all of them are looking. So I'm gonna start this over because now my ball's actually a big frickin' mess. I don't know what happened. I think because I put it in timeout, I was like, oh, some swear words, and then I'm like, it's got to go in timeout. I got to figure out what I want to do. And I looked at the pattern. I can't see where I missed something, so I'm just gonna start over, and it'll be fine. It's just a cowl. So if you want to join, it's very informal. It's not like, I don't know that there's going to be prizes or anything. It's just sort of like, hey, let's all do this together and inspire each other. I know Michelle finished hers. I've got a few people that I've seen on Instagram. You can follow the hashtag and see some of them. And several people are quite a ways, and some people are just kind of starting. So that's cool. But I'm going to restart because I screwed it up. I just obviously wasn't in the right mind space to work on it. When Michelle was here, I showed these socks that I was knitting. This is mustache yarn, faithful. It's part of her, it's one of her perfect match socks. So I've got a 50-gram ball. And so I was going to try, we were talking about different heels and stuff. And she suggested the OMG heel. Well, there's a spacious OMG heel that I thought, well, let me try that because I have higher arches and I need it to get pretty wide to go over my heel and my instep. And first attempt was like, oh, it didn't turn out right. I think I missed something. And then my second attempt, I thought, okay, I'm good to go. But now when I go to connect again, so I will bring this to here, there's this huge hole. Like, I don't want to have to sew that together. I don't know if that's right. It'll be a big hole on both sides, and maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be. But I put this aside because I need Michelle, who's done the OMG heel several times, to help me with it. So I'm just doing a 3x1 ribbed sock. Once I pass the heel, it'll just be stockinette on the bottom with the ribbing on the top, and that can help give me more stretch over the top of my foot. So I either will need to take out that heel and just do either an afterthought heel or a heel flap and gusset, which does fit me really well. I'm just not a huge, it's all right. I don't like having to pick up the stitches and do all that fussing, but this was fussy. So we'll try it again. But I think I need to have Michelle take a look at it and see if that looks right, because it doesn't look right to me. So that got put aside, and just like one fail after another, but it's okay. I'll pick myself back up and we'll do it. I also had this yarn that I got from Fiber Hustle. This colorway it's a Clown Explosion, and it's DK, and I wanted to make DK socks, and I did, and I did it toe up. So I've made a pair of DK socks before, and I wasn't sure with DK like how far to go. I usually do top down, and I know I knit so far for here, I make a heel, so far for here, but I didn't know if I would have enough yarn to do my regular formula with DK. The last pair I made, I made them they're okay, they're shorties, but I usually wear these like when I go to bed and stuff. And it just feels weird to have it too short. So I prefer it to go up my leg a little bit. So I did, and I thought, okay, I could have gone another maybe inch or so, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't have that much yarn left. I only have like 10 grams left. I better start doing my cuff. I ended up with 6 grams. So I only used 4 for the cuff. I could have gone as far, I could have made these my regular length. They'll be just a tidge shorter than I usually do, but I had plenty. I did a Turkish cast on, which I followed the very well explained to me anyway tutorial from Relatively Crafty. Christy has done a tutorial on how to do it. Super easy. It seems very weird that it should work, but it does. I will link her video down below. It worked great. And I'm like, okay, this is good. And I brought this to Sisters, and this is what I would sit and knit on. I'm like, I think I can trust myself to just knit in the round because everything else was just not working. And then I got to the heel, and I thought, oh crap, what do I do for a heel? Do I try the OMG heel? I don't know that I trust it yet because I haven't like proven it. So Aaron gave a call to our friend Michael, and because he does toe up socks, and he says he just marks it and does an afterthought later. My friend Rob does toe up socks, and he said the same thing, and I thought, I'm just going to do that. I know how to do an afterthought heel. I'm just going to do that. And so I did. I just marked where the heel was going to go. He suggested putting a marker on both sides and one in the middle so you can follow that when you cut the yarn. And so there we go. So I started the next one. So I just have a little toe. And so I will have these for when it gets cold, which is not right now because we're in summer and it's hot. It's been hot. No, it's not like overly hot. It's just summer hot. I don't like summer hot. So that's been my knitting. I did have a friend so generously send me this skein. It's part of the Woolens and Nosh sock club, and I got online when she like put it out for ordering, and it was all sold out, and I thought it's not really in my budget to do the whole club. I knew that I would love whatever was put out there because I really love Michelle's colorways, and so he just sent it to me like randomly. So I have, this is called Berry Basket, because this is me right here. So this will be my next socks once I figure out the others, because this, when Michelle dyes on a Targhee, 90% Targhee, 10% nylon base, it's a little bit plumper, and so it's one that I like to hand knit rather than doing a tube on my knitting machine. So I have a flatbed knitting machine with a ribber, and I can knit a tube to make socks, which is generally how I like to do it. But with something like this, I'll knit it by hand. And it's got these adorable stitch markers. There's even a rainbow one in there. I need to put that on. What was it? I need to put it on something. So I've just been feeling kind of overwhelmed with the partial projects I have going. And I wasn't going to get to that point. But it's like I need to take the time to fix whatever has stopped me so that I can continue on. And it's been hard because it's like the knit along with the cowl has kept me from working on like my cross stitch or another project, and then I've been gone, and it's like it's kind of crazy. It's not going to die down until probably November because I've got a really big trip coming up in October. I'll talk about that when I get closer to it. But yeah, so for now, this is what we've got. I think I covered everything. So stay tuned. I don't know when those new quilts will get started, because we've sort of given ourselves some time, like let's just work on our own things right now. And so there's some other things that I want to do that I have to dig into, but it's like, oh, but I got to cut this fabric for my friend first, and so we'll see what happens. I'm not complaining. I hope it doesn't come across like that, because I'm not complaining. I'm very lucky that I have these options and the time to even consider them. So not complaining at all. I just need to kind of get my brain a little more organized around all of it and get kind of a better plan on how to tackle all this stuff so I can get it done. I'm hoping to have Michelle from the Naughty Knitwits back on. It was really fun for me to have her, and I'm hoping she would be willing to come back. That was just a lot of fun. So thank you so much for being here and joining me, and for subscribing and like the video and all that kind of stuff. And I will see you the next time that I can see you. Okay, bye.